An odd man chooses to resign from his position. Although almost everyone liked dogs, only a very unique kind of individual would dedicate their entire life to our four-legged companions. It takes a lot of labor to raise even one puppy, and there are always more dogs in need of care and affection. However, this does not imply that this line of work is not useful. Welcome to USA Stories channel. Do not forget to subscribe and activate the bell button to receive all new updates. Now let's go to the story. A California guy who was dissatisfied with his living circumstances in 2018 dreamed of pursuing his love of animals. Naturally, no one anticipated that he would act so daringly to upend everything. For as long as he could remember, Lee Asher has been a dog lover. Nor was his love restricted to his own animals. He volunteered extensively in animal shelters during his adolescent years. When Lee reached maturity, he had become somewhat of a rut. Although he had a solid track record in corporate sales, he wasn't particularly fond of it. He actually thought his work was soul-crushing. Of course, the minute he got home, he could forget about all that workplace crap. Playing a game of backyard fetch and receiving a loving greeting from his dogs would do more for Lee than merely reduce tension. They would restore his sense of self. In actuality, Lee had been fostering dogs since his time in college. Though the rest of his household also held strong views about dogs, he occasionally questioned if he could make this more than a side activity. Luckily, Lee's South Lake Tahoe roommate and companion Luke also had a fondness for dogs. It was also fortunate since Lee tended to overdo it when it came to offering puppies assistance. It's true that leaving an animal shelter with a new family member gave Lee the biggest rush. Having adopted more than once, even twice, he understood that no other emotion could match the experience. By 2018, Lee and Luke had taken 9 dogs into their house. The two guys had a lot on their plates, yet they managed to balance everything expertly. Lee was still unsure if he could take it a step further. It seems as though his life's work was to save dogs from certain death. Lee discussed several options with Luke and came to the conclusion that, since life is short, he may as well go for it. The following day, Lee stormed into the office and said he was quitting, not just the job but the whole 9-5 grind. Lee's actual dog days had just begun, but those dog days were finished. Lee changed their house into the Asher House, an organization that takes in stray animals and finds them new homes after that. Before long, he and Luke had to care about far more than 9 dogs. By saving several worthy dogs from their region of California, Lee and Luke were accomplishing a great deal of good. They would need to find a means to cover more land if they were to have any significant impact. The lads soon devised a strategy. They bought an RV with the money they saved up and gave it a new coat of paint. The Asher House RV was created as a result. Their sleek new wheels would allow Luke and Lee to continue their journey throughout the nation. The dog enthusiasts made visits to American humanitarian groups and shelters. They were not only spreading the word about rescue canines, but also taking significant action to save themselves. Although Lee and Luke were aware that many dogs were confined to cages and that some of them would never be able to escape, they nonetheless took in as many puppies as they could, showing them the same love and care that they would have given their own. These dogs, for the most part, demonstrated their worth as soon as they were released from their cages. Through the RV, loving families sifted through and adopted a lifelong buddy. Being in charge of so many animals at once really did become a little stressful at times, but Lee never missed the office grind. "I'm very grateful to have a home filled with so much love and dog fur," he laughed. This employment was perhaps the greatest present he could have hoped for. The inspiration just comes from loving dogs and knowing that you're not only saving a life, he said, but also allowing the space for other rescues to get adopted too. More than 200 dogs had found new homes as a consequence of Lee and Luke's travels by the end of the year. They gained some followers along the way, some quite well-known ones in fact, and it was evident that their efforts had paid off. This audacious endeavor moved Ellen DeGeneres, who asked Lee and Luke to share their story on her program. Ellen revealed a $10,000 check, a great surprise for these heroes, at the end of the show. With increased determination than before, Lee would continue to work harder to assist pets in need. As absurd as it may sound, he envisions a time where every pet has a space of their own. The dream is not unreal after all. Similar missions are being carried out by people all around the world. For example, immediately after a calamity struck the island of Crete, Theoklitos Prostakis, also called Takis by the locals, gained a good reputation among the island's canines. In the charming village of Ierapetra, the Greek dentist practiced, and he and his neighbors never believed they could ask for more. However, by 2009, their ideal lives were starting to fall apart. Greece was severely impacted by the global financial crisis, and in the years that followed, the nation's debt and unemployment rate increased dramatically. On the Isle of Crete, rioting and protests broke out in the streets as some homes lost everything. To conserve money, families faced painful decisions, especially when it came to their pets. While some people left their animals in the woods, others committed even greater crimes. Takis, who has always loved dogs, was almost broken by the consequences. When he went by a nearby landfill, he was astounded to see that many canines had taken up residence there and were fighting over leftovers in order to survive. The dentist provided some alleviation to the animals, since he could no longer stand to see them in such pain. Sneaking past the barrier, he dumped a bag of dog food into a small area. Takis saw several of the dogs were in serious need of medical assistance as they gobbled it up. Takis enlisted the help of her medical acquaintances to help the most frail dogs recover. He was aware that this was only a temporary fix, though. The majority of these dogs would perish if they remained in the open. Luckily, there was an opening on the outskirts of Ierapetra that would work. Takis reasoned that it may serve as a makeshift home for the stray dogs. It would be preferable than the dump at the very least. Takis started relocating the abandoned dogs to the location in 2012 and gave it the name Takis Shelter. A few neighbors voiced their displeasure about the dog's loudness, and some irrationalists even threatened physical harm. Even still, Takis ignored their taunts and threats because he already had enough problems within his own company. His expenses went out of hand as more canines were brought into the shelter. To start with, he had to pay around $2,000 a month for feeding all the dogs. However, some needed even more expensive things. Takis had to pay for the spaying and neutering of some of the dogs out of his own money in order to prevent the population of his shelter from becoming out of hand. Soon after, he started taking drastic steps to prevent everything from collapsing. Takis effectively renounced his former life. He had already abandoned his career in dentistry to take care of Crete's stray dogs, but soon he would also need to sell his house and vehicle in order to make ends meet. There was almost nothing left for me. From that point on, the creator of the Takis shelter also made his home there. He ate his meals and slept next to the animals he was feeding and saving. Although Takis felt more pleased than ever before, this was perhaps the lowest point in the eyes of many. Even though he thought he was truly making a difference, he acknowledged that his new existence was difficult, and word of his purpose began to spread. Takis was feeling more and more overwhelmed as the shelter's population drew closer to 200, but he wouldn't be left alone for long. Strangers and friends from Ierapetra started to arrive at the gates. Their intention was to offer assistance. Even if many others were too busy to participate, they nonetheless made a significant contribution to Takis's efforts. His porch was greeted by crates of food and pet supplies, most of which were imported from abroad. Takis found himself with sufficient backing to achieve more than just survival. Takis actually established a new shelter section that is dedicated to helping stray house cats. Ultimately, dogs weren't the only animals evicted from their homes during the economic downturn. Eventually, Takis shelter started to succeed in reaching its main objective, placing its animals in loving, long-term homes. Thrilled guests poured in to discover a new member of the family and departed beaming. Although Takis is sad to see his dog friends go, he understands they are going to a better place. He still rescues poor puppies from alleyways and landfills on a daily basis, but he is now certain that he is providing them more than just a place to stay. He is giving them hope. Nothing is more delightful to behold than the adoption of a new puppy, after all. Have you ever had to bite anything because you were that excited? If so, you've never experienced the same amount of satisfaction as this golden doodle puppy who took the got your nose approach to the extreme by actually getting his new owner's schnoz. She was planning to take this puppy she had discovered on the side of the road to the neighborhood shelter, but after seeing her face, Well, let's just say she ended up taking her home. Really, is it really her fault? You know you made the right decision when your adopted dog smiles from ear to ear and instantly asks to take a photo with you. From now on, these two closest friends have nothing but clear skies ahead of them. Don't tell this throng that raising your hands in the air is only appropriate for people who are apathetic, as the old club hit states. She appeared ecstatic about their upcoming friendship with her new family. If a picture is worth 1,000 words, then this one would require thousands of words that would all be variations on the word love. This dog's expression of complete contentment and calm says it all. Breakfast in bed may make for a very spectacular morning, but there's nothing quite like a puppy wake-up call over a platter of toast, bacon, and coffee. Just one glance at the adorable dog's face will do. Perfect. Is there anything more adorable than a puppy and his new owner looking tenderly into one another's eyes? It's evident that they are considering their friendship over the next 12 or so years. Either that, or this dog is trying to borrow the vehicle keys. A new owner's cuddle and a little sunshine. What more could a dog ask for? Based on the expression on this girl's face, not very much. Her happy demeanor would have been ideal for a shampoo commercial. That small puppy has a huge grin. After being adopted and returned to her happy home, Tata the puppy, of course, couldn't stop herself. Her pleasure made her new owner grin as well. He asked for a dog for Christmas every year, but his wife always said no, since after all, that's another mouth to feed. However, one year, his Christmas desire came true, and he was unable to hide his disbelief. Most likely, if explorers ever discovered the fabled Fountain of Youth, it would be a 10-foot deep hole brimming with puppies. This older lady who recently met her new friend knows better than anybody that nothing brings joy or energy to a person than a dog. Without a question, one of the most demanding occupations on the earth must be becoming a police officer. Although police officers are expected to maintain a strong appearance while on duty, one officer broke down in tears as he gave his new dog a cuddle. Idiot. She was compelled to hold him in her arms like a little child. This dog didn't seem to mind at all based on the expression on his face. He was eager for a lifetime of affection. I went to adopt a dog and ended up with a bear, writes this Reddit member. It didn't appear to bother him too much. He will be able to face any challenge in the future now that he has a large dog at his side. Adopting an elderly dog carries some stigma because these dogs often have many health problems. But when he selected this adorable dog, this guy didn't give a damn. They took a short photo outside the shelter and she looked cute with her tongue lolling. There's a slight difference between a "we're doing great, can we keep him?" and a "I adore this dog so much" expression, but this girl is definitely making both. This youngster is going to see a lot of love, you can tell. When you first meet a new pet, emotions can run wild. This guy's response when his significant other surprised him with a new dog, he broke down in tears, may be the best example of this. What are you going to do when you first bring your new puppy home? That's right, have a backyard celebration with your new dog. If you're lucky, the dog could even mimic your facial expression when you take a picture. This woman was depressed when she took this picture. She thought there was very little hope in life. She got herself a little dog as a reward when she eventually felt emotionally stable again. She was able to capture the beauty of the event with just one picture. What's the greatest way to cheer up a cranky dad who wants to binge-watch Netflix? Why, of course, a dog. By the way, this is the remedy for everything. Who is the winner of the staring competition, I wonder? They say there's no medication like a child's laughter. But perhaps a close pharmacological second is kids spending the next 10 or so years snuggling with their greatest dog companion. Guys, go to bed now since you will be playing a lot when you wake up. Strangely, this picture appears to be taken from a leaflet promoting the benefits of dog ownership, or a scenario taken from out of a Pixar film. Either way, after seeing this youngster, it's difficult to resist hugging your own dog. The camera may have been fast enough to get this puppy's tongue sticking out, but it was unable to catch his rapidly licking tail, as a Reddit user noted. The image virtually drips with excitement. Their expressions told it all. The little child was ecstatic about her new Christmas present and could have been considering getting into trouble with the dog in the future. The dog could not have made a finer "I'm a puppy" face if they tried, with its calm, tongue-lolling expression. Please remember to subscribe to our channel, give us a thumbs up, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss any of our videos. If you enjoyed the tale, the next video that plays on your screen will probably move you too.